Welcome to the very first episode of Miles Ahead Deep Dives. You won't find our typical podcast segments here, but you will discover nitty-gritty details of one extremely important topic to Canadian travel enthusiasts. We plan to publish these episodes once per month to give you a new episode of Miles Ahead at least once every 2 weeks. Today, we will deep dive into all the details of the WestJet Companion Voucher, and I'm joined by FrugalFlyer founders, Josh and Reed. I'm quite looking forward to this topic, as I personally have never used a WestJet Companion Voucher before. I think I'll learn just as much about these vouchers as most of our listeners. To begin, let's define what a companion voucher actually is. Josh, can you explain what these vouchers are?
So anyone in Canada obviously knows of WestJet and their accompanying WestJet Rewards Loyalty Program. Within the WestJet Rewards Loyalty Program, customers can earn WestJet Companion Vouchers, whether through spending within the program or through two of the co-branded credit cards that we'll talk about later. So with these companion vouchers, they present a good opportunity for couples who are booking WestJet flights. What they can be used for is if a person books a WestJet flight, they have like the base fare and the taxes and fees. If you apply a companion voucher, that second person on that booking pays a far reduced base fare cost. And so this means, the base fare may be $700. It can be reduced to $119 for that second person. So there's obviously some massive savings to be had here if you use WestJet or fly with WestJet at all, or you're in Edmonton, such as Reed and myself, where Edmonton International Airport is heavily serviced by WestJet. So essentially, there's some good cost savings to be had through using these vouchers, and there's a number of ways that they can be earned.
That is a perfect segue into our next segment. Reed, can you please tell everybody how they can get their hands on one of these WestJet Companion Vouchers?
Absolutely. So, as with a lot of the good stuff in our hobby, the best way to get your hands on these vouchers is to sign up for credit cards. And there's two credit cards in particular. Obviously, they're WestJet co-branded cards, and they're issued by RBC, Royal Bank. So this is the WestJet World Elite MasterCard, as well as the WestJet RBC MasterCard. And we've talked about this card, I believe, on previous episodes. The WestJet RBC World Elite MasterCard is a really good card. It's a little bit of a more premium card. It comes with a $120 annual fee, and it also comes with a nice bonus, typically ranging from $350 to $450 WestJet dollars. So that card comes with the companion voucher. If you're looking to get a companion voucher and you're not necessarily interested in all of the other benefits of that card, the more basic card comes at a lower annual fee of $40 or $39. And we'll talk about it a little bit, but the voucher that comes with that card is a bit different than the voucher that comes with the World Elite card. One thing to note, so we talked about product switching before. If you product switch to either of these cards, as opposed to signing up for them as a new application, you may receive a companion voucher, but it won't be guaranteed. So your mileage may vary with that. And also, other than just signing up for the card brand new, if you continue to hold the card every cardholder year, you will get a new companion voucher issued to you.
Now, other than holding credit cards, is there any other way for people to earn these WestJet Companion Vouchers, Reed?
Yeah, there is. So another avenue is through WestJet's own elite status program with something called milestone awards. People who fly WestJet enough or participate in this program enough to earn these probably already know about them. But the way it works is if you spend enough on WestJet product, you earn one of these milestone awards or the choice of a milestone award. They give you different options to pick from. So when you spend over $8,000 on WestJet base fare, you will get the choice of a WestJet wide companion voucher, 4 guest lounge vouchers, or 6 guest advanced seat selection vouchers. You will get that choice again upon spending $12,000, $16,000, $20,000, $30,000, $40,000, and $50,000.
Wow, it goes all the way up to $50K.
Yeah.
If you really love WestJet.
Exactly, yeah. But as I said, like for the average Canadian, for the average traveler, and I think definitely for our audience, the credit card avenue is going to be a lot more reachable. So,
yes, definitely agree on that. Well, For never having used one of these before, I gotta say, the barrier to entry sounds extremely low, but I'm sure there's a few gotchas in there. Josh, what is the actual cost of using one of these WestJet Companion Vouchers?
This is where it gets a little complex because it depends on how the voucher is earned. So we'll break it down by earning method. So if you hold that WestJet RBC MasterCard, so the more entry-level card with that $39 annual fee, you can use a voucher or you can use your companion voucher to travel anywhere within North America, excluding Hawaii. So how the price is broken down is it's based on the fare class that you book. So if you book a basic, econo, or econo flex ticket, to use this companion voucher, it costs $199 base fare for that second passenger. If you're booking a premium or premium flex fare class, it's $299 base fare. The companion voucher earned from the WestJet RBC MasterCard cannot be used outside of North America. So the more powerful option and the card we often recommend, the WestJet RBC World Elite MasterCard, things get a bit better here. So for North America travel, if you're booking a basic econo or econo flex fare class, you only pay $119 base fare for the companion voucher. Similarly, if you're booking a premium or premium flex fare class within North America, it's a $219 base fare. The companion vouchers earned from the WestJet RBC World Elite MasterCard can actually be used throughout the WestJet network, but the cost goes up significantly. So if you're booking a basic econo or econo flex fare outside of North America, it's a $399 base fare, which is massive. On the flip side, if you're booking a premium or premium flex fare, it's $499 you'll be paying for that base fare. That being said, while that's kind of an eye-watering amount, there's still a ton of savings to be had with this. What you will need to be aware of is WestJet is kind of weird sometimes with what they charge base fare-wise. Kieran wrote a really good article about WestJet taxes and fees and kind of the black box that they are, so it'd be worth looking into that, as you may sometimes find a ticket that costs $800 and the base fare is only $200, so there's something to be aware of in there. Finally, we have the WestJet Companion Vouchers that are earned through milestone awards, which are those dollar amounts of spend that Reed was talking about. These are the best options if you do have access to them, as there's no base fare cost for the companion. That means your companion flies completely free and you only pay taxes and fees on their booking.
Wow, that's a very comprehensive list that I'm going to highly encourage our readers to go check out the table that's in the article, because that's a lot of information for an audio format, but valuable. I mean, the one thing that really stood out to me is if you're only planning on traveling within North America, I think the companion voucher that comes with the WestJet RBC MasterCard for $40 is pretty good. Like, the cost to book a premium fare is $299 with the basic companion voucher, and it's only $80 less when you're looking at with the RBC World Elite MasterCard. So that MasterCard costs an extra $100 a year in comparison. So not a bad deal if you're not planning on traveling outside North America. And then moving on to our next thing about the WestJet Companion Vouchers, there's obviously some restrictions on top of the matrix of death that is what you can use these for. Reed, this is going to be a long one. What are the restrictions around WestJet Companion Vouchers?
Yeah, so there's a number of little kind of gotchas, as you put it, that you have to be aware of when you're looking at redeeming one of these. So for one, you'll probably notice when Josh was mentioning the fare classes, there's a few fare classes not listed. So WestJet Companion Vouchers cannot be used towards WestJet business class fares, business flex fares, or member exclusive fares. However, all the other fares are eligible. And then this might be obvious, but when booking with a companion voucher, the same fare type must be booked for the primary cardholder and for the companion. WestJet Companion Vouchers cannot be used towards WestJet vacation bookings or group bookings. WestJet Companion Vouchers can only be used by the WestJet Rewards member who has the voucher in their account. So you can't transfer these to other people. You can't book for your friends, for your two friends if you're not flying. You have to be using it for yourself and a companion. So a couple other things. They cannot be used on existing bookings. They can only be applied when making a new booking. And they can't be used on flights that don't originate from Canada. So your departure airport has to be an airport in Canada. So something we haven't talked about yet is expiry dates of companion vouchers. So these are good for a year from when the companion voucher was issued. The flight booking must be made before the expiry date. The date that you're flying can be after the expiry date. So you could make a booking on the day of expiry for months down the road and use your companion voucher that's expiring the same day. And so that effectively allows you to stretch the expiry date. Technically, you can stretch the expiry date of your companion voucher to beyond the actual expiry date. So companion vouchers cannot be applied when using a discount code. So if you're going to be using your companion voucher and you have access to any kind of discount code, you'll have to decide which one you want to use more or which one's going to save you more money. On the plus side, companion vouchers can be combined with WestJet dollar redemptions, but do remember that WestJet dollar redemptions can only cover the base fare cost. So for me, when I'm looking at using one of these, I always price out the trip completely without a voucher and then with a voucher to evaluate how much I'm actually saving. And I would recommend anyone looking at using these to kind of do the same to make sure they maximize the value of it.
Yeah, no, that's a great tip, Reed. I do have a couple of questions for you, though, just to clarify some things. The fact that you can only book premium economy or economy tickets, it's actually kind of a benefit that WestJet only markets their domestic business class as premium economy. So, for example, if you're flying really long distance within North America, you're able to use that as a premium economy ticket. So that's a good tip. And then with the 2 years of validity, or the essential 2 years of validity, what happens if you change a ticket that has a voucher applied to it, but you make a change after that voucher has expired? I know that's a lot to get into, but do you have any theories on what might happen there?
Can we conference call a WestJet support agent into this episode?
So upon consulting with the terms and conditions of the companion voucher, WestJet mentions that changes and cancellations must be made at the same time for both guests, and failure to do so may result in a forfeiture of travel funds. Changes must be made prior to the expiry date of the voucher used for the booking. So,
okay,
my guess is that if you make a change to your voucher, or if you need to make a change to your flight, and it's after the expiry date of the voucher, you may be told tough luck.
Right.
So don't put yourself in that situation if you can avoid it. But I mean, if it happened to me, I would still try. There's been cases where people have extended their vouchers by calling in. So, it's always worth asking, but based on the terms, you're not entitled to essentially refund or a reuse of the voucher.
Yeah, no, really good to include those details, Reed. And while it's technically 2 years of validity, really, if you make any changes after that first voucher has expired, you're probably not getting that voucher back, and that 50% discount essentially is probably gone. But moving on to our next segment of the WestJet Companion Voucher Deep Dive, how can we maximize the value of each companion voucher? And Josh, I know that you use these all the time, being based in Western Canada. How would you go about maximizing the value of one of these vouchers?
Reed had a really good point where, and I see this a lot in discussion forums, and we've had a few comments about it, is people often underestimate the value of these, whether they search one route and the value just isn't there. These really aren't great for all routes that are out there, first of all. You really want to target those routes that have higher base fares, because that's obviously going to generate the greatest value and cut the greatest cost for you. So I love using these. I used a couple of these in the last month. The greatest value I find for them is actually using them for premium economy redemptions within North America. So I typically use the companion vouchers from the WestJet RBC World Elite MasterCard for my premium economy redemptions. The reason being is these vouchers have a lower fee when you're using them. You're only paying $219 for the base fare for your companion on it. And that's within North America. Of course, if I were to use these for travel outside of North America, that amount bounces up into $499 for premium, which is a huge jump. Typically, when I'm booking these, so I'm using them for premium economy North America, typically I'm also booking round trips, right? You can use a companion voucher for a one-way if it originates out of Canada, or you can book a round trip. Way more cost savings with a round trip. That's just basic math. What I do also see, and I don't have a lot of experience with this because I'm usually just traveling with a friend or with my significant other, I do see a lot of families use these. So, if we have a typical household, which has, 2 parents and 2 kids, what I've seen a lot of is each parent will sign up for a WestJet RBC World Elite MasterCard. They'll each get a nice little welcome bonus of WestJet dollars and a companion voucher. They will then each book their own separate itinerary, booking themselves using that companion voucher with one of their children. Same, the other parent does the same. They're still flying the same flights. They can still choose seats beside each other. But on a route where that base fare is higher, it cuts a ton of cost out. A route that I use these on often is Edmonton to California, specifically Orange County for Disneyland. Great example there that there can be a ton of cost savings. So as always, do your research, search, like Reed alluded to. Make sure you're searching what the cost would be with the voucher and without. You don't want to blow it for like $15 in savings. Make sure it's substantial. But do your research and you'll often find that some routes have some really significant savings.
Those are some great tips, Josh. And I particularly like the one for family travel. It's so easy to get an RBC card that gives you one of these companion vouchers that even if you have a lower income household or something, you can sign up for the basic WestJet RBC MasterCard and you can get one of these for $40. So super easy on that front. The one thing I will say is that you should be able to link your bookings with WestJet. So obviously when you're using 2 separate companion vouchers, you'll have 2 separate itineraries. If anything happens with schedule changes and you get rebooked, you should be able to call WestJet just like you can with Air Canada. I know I've done this before. Link your bookings together so that if there is a schedule change, then you all get schedule changed together and you don't end up arriving to your destination at 2 separate times and people are waiting at the airport with the rental car to carry on with the rest of your vacation. And then Josh kind of let the cat out of the bag a little bit early for some of his examples of when to use WestJet Companion Vouchers. So Reed, why don't you give some of your examples of when you've used these companion vouchers to great success?
Yeah, so I have a pretty pertinent example. So Josh and I are actually going on a trip to watch some golf this week. We're flying to Phoenix. We're flying in economy. And so I used a companion voucher to make this booking. So the base fare cost was around $400 for each person for the round trip. And so by using the companion voucher, there's a savings of around $300. So modest, Josh is going to give some examples, I'm sure, of much higher savings. But depending on where you're at in this hobby, you might be able to come across many companion vouchers in a given year. And so saving money anywhere, any flight you can is always good. So we're definitely happy with the savings there. Yeah, Josh, do you have some examples of other fare classes like premium economy?
Yeah, that's my biggest use case. A couple weeks ago, I booked just a quick 2-night Vegas getaway out of Edmonton. So round trip flights on WestJet. We're lucky enough to have direct flights to Vegas from here. I had a bunch of WestJet dollars that I was looking to use. So we did a round trip premium booking. The base fare for both passengers was $1,751 round trip without a companion voucher. However, once I added a companion voucher and searched again, the base fare for both passengers was actually $999. So we're seeing rough savings of about $750 on that. And that's for a round trip. So it obviously adds up when, the first passenger is paying a base fare of $780 and the second one only has to pay $219 on that same booking. So I've also recently had a similar booking to Orlando for later in 2025. Same kind of result with that. You see a higher base fare in premium economy. I think it was maybe $800 per person per way in premium economy. So huge savings to be had on that. And really, through the use of WestJet dollars, we're just left with paying taxes and fees on that. So I will say WestJet Premium Economy is nothing crazy special for what it's worth. But if you're flying a 5.5-hour flight to Orlando, it's a hell of a lot better than economy.
I was just about to bring that up. I'm literally here searching up the timeline from Edmonton International Airport to Orlando, and it's 5 hours and 35 minutes. So I certainly would like to be in a nice recliner seat rather than a middle seat, even if it's an exit row. That is a huge difference. And just like we mentioned earlier, because they are not eligible for business class, but they are eligible for premium, it's one of the great hacks to use those companion vouchers if you have the budget for it in that premium class. Now, the final thing to bring up with these companion vouchers is what happens if you're a solo traveler. Is this benefit completely useless? And Reed, I think you have some ideas, if there are solo travelers out there, how they could take advantage of these companion vouchers and still get value.
Absolutely. So essentially, I mean, the voucher itself is somewhat useless as far as booking a flight goes. It's designed to be used with a companion, but WestJet offers a nice option for people to actually convert these vouchers into lounge passes. So you can exchange your voucher for 4 airport lounge passes. There's a special web page on the WestJet website where you can do this that we'll link in the show notes. So you might be wondering where you can use these airport lounge passes at. So WestJet has a list of partner lounges. It's a small list of around 17 lounges, mostly located in Canada and Europe. And they're, for the most part, the Plaza Premium operated lounges. But there's also the WestJet Elevation Lounge in Calgary, which is a fantastic lounge and one of the best lounges in Canada. So a couple other little things to note. So the lounge passes, once issued, will have the same expiry date as the companion voucher had. If you have multiple companion vouchers and you initiate a conversion of a voucher to 4 lounge passes, it will convert the voucher that has the earliest expiry date. And this is only possible with World Elite vouchers. So this is another example of how the World Elite companion voucher is a little bit better than the basic MasterCard voucher. But yeah, I mean, it's a great feature to have. I've done this at least once before so that I had access to some of these lounge passes.
All right, Reed. So let's say that you decide you are a solo traveler that's not going to be using this benefit. Can you give your lounge passes to someone else? And do you have to be flying WestJet in order to use them?
Yeah, so you do have to be flying on WestJet in order to use the lounge passes. So when you go and check into the lounge, you'll have to present a boarding pass for a WestJet flight. And you're not able to, just like the companion voucher itself, you need to be present. You can redeem a voucher for a companion, but you need to be present as well to redeem the lounge passes.
Right. And then the last thing that I want to add here is that if you're at that wonderful WestJet Elevation Lounge in Calgary and you're using one of these WestJet lounge passes, you'll get in before anybody who's using the Priority Pass or Dragon Pass access or anything like that. And as we've talked about in previous episodes, while we love the WestJet Elevation Lounge, it is notoriously hard to get in. And one of the first things they ask when you walk up to the desk to put your name on the list, because there's usually always a waiting list, how are you accessing? And if you say that you're using a WestJet Companion Voucher, you'll get bumped right to the top of that waiting list versus letting in somebody from Priority Pass, Dragon Pass, etc. And that pretty much wraps us up for this episode of Miles Ahead Deep Dive, everything about the WestJet Companion Voucher. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Miles Ahead Deep Dives. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a review on your favorite podcast platform. If you have any questions about the episode, be sure to leave a comment on the episode page on FrugalFlyer.ca. If you have a question you want us to answer on air, you can submit it on FrugalFlyer.ca/podcast. Bye, everybody.